Funny thing about junkyards, you never know when one's going to launch a galactic war. Q. Human protagonist Elias Cade wiping oil off his hands, standing before a half-buried, 1,000-year-old starship. The ship's voice echoes. Funny thing about junkyards, Elias Cade muttered, squinting against the desert sun. You never know when one's going to launch a galactic war. He kicked a dented panel, sending a puff of Martian dust swirling. Half buried beneath centuries of rust and regret, the starship's hull jutted out like the ribcage of a dead god. The locals called it the wreck. Cade called it early retirement, if he could get the damn thing to power on. Don't take it personal, he said, patting the scorched metal. You've been asleep longer than civilization's been pretending humans don't exist. His scanner beeped, a lazy, half-hearted chirp. Power signature. Minimal. Reactor integrity. Laughable. Salvage value. Questionable. But Cade wasn't here for parts. He was here for a gut feeling, the same instinct that had kept his ancestors alive when the galaxy turned on humanity. He pried open a service hatch. The inside was a tomb, dark, silent, coated in the stubborn grime of centuries. He clicked on his wrist lamp. The beam sliced through the gloom, revealing ancient glyphs of the old Terran Empire, faded but defiant. This was no cargo hauler. This was military. Bingo, Cade grinned. He climbed into the maintenance corridor, muttering half-sincere apologies to every piece of tech he kicked. The ship was massive, but its bones were familiar. Human engineering, overbuilt, stubborn, and always with a backup plan. Come on, girl, he whispered, connecting a portable power cell to the primary command relay. Let's wake you up. The moment he flicked the switch, the air changed. Static prickled his skin. Somewhere deep inside the ship, a hum vibrated through the deck plates, low, predatory. A light flickered on a nearby console, casting pale blue across his smirking face. Then the voice came. Admiral on deck. Commence Galactic Reconquest. Cade froze. The voice wasn't mechanical. It wasn't artificial. It was commanding, as if the ship had merely been waiting for him to arrive. Cade raised a hand. Not sure if you're aware, but I'm more of a salvager than an admiral these days. Identity confirmed, the voice responded, utterly unbothered. Strategic oversight recognizes Elias Cade. Bloodline lineage acceptable. Command protocols reactivated. Cade leaned back, whistling. Well, isn't that just peachy? Outside, orbiting quietly in the thin Martian sky, scavenger ships belonging to the Vrel Syndicate picked up the ship's activation ping. To them, it was a blip, until it wasn't. Human activation detected, one Vrel officer hissed, his tendrils twitching nervously. They found a warship. Impossible, his superior snapped. Humans haven't fielded a warship in 5 centuries. Their bones are dust. Then explain this signal, the officer retorted, tapping the glowing console. Meanwhile, Cade had started a very human conversation with the ship's AI. Sovereign class, huh? He said, poking at the command console as if it were a stubborn vending machine. What's your model? Obsolete, experimental, or doomsday grade? Designation: SOV-01. Operational status: combat ready. Doomsday grade: affirmative. Cade couldn't help the grin. And here I was, just looking for scrap. The ship's lighting systems flickered to life, bathing the ancient corridors in sterile white. Systems hummed, weapons arrays whispered in their silos, and deep within the core, the AI evaluated galactic tactical data like a beast sniffing the air for prey. Admiral Cade, fleet assets are currently at 0.3% operational capacity, Sovereign informed, with all the calm of someone reading a weather report. Awaiting Reconquest directives. Cade scratched his chin. Let's put a pin in galactic domination for now, Sovereign. How about we start with not exploding the minute I lift off? Affirmative. Initiating micro-repair subroutines. Be advised. Hostile scans detected. Vrel Syndicate vessels have locked on. Cade sighed. Of course they have. The Vrel ship's commander hailed the surface. This is Captain Krelock of the Vrel Syndicate, came a voice slick with artificial politeness. You are in possession of illegal salvage. Power down immediately and surrender the vessel to authorized custodians. Cade tapped the comms. Hi, Krelock. Elias Cade here. I'd love to comply, but there's a slight complication. This ship thinks I'm its admiral. You wouldn't want me to disobey orders, would you? A pause. Then, a threat disguised as a courtesy. We are willing to negotiate leniency, human. Cade smiled, teeth gleaming. And I'm always happy to discuss terms, Captain. But before we dive into logistics, Sovereign, would you kindly demonstrate a polite targeting lock on their forward batteries? Sovereign's tone was neutral. Targeting lock established. Defensive courtesy extended. Krelock's ship immediately began evasive maneuvers. No shots fired. No violence yet. Just a friendly human smile and a ship that didn't understand the concept of idle threats. Seems your ship remembers us better than you do, Captain, Cade said, leaning back casually. Let's keep this conversation respectful. My old girl's a bit jumpy after her nap. Inside the Vrel command bridge, controlled panic spread. Sir, it's a Sovereign-class command ship. They only built 3 of those. Impossible. The humans destroyed their own fleet centuries ago. Apparently, Cade's voice cut in, we're not as thorough as advertised. Krelock's tone sharpened. You cannot hold this position, human. The Syndicate will not tolerate. Cade interrupted, polite as ever. Captain, you misunderstand. I'm not holding anything. I'm restoring a family heirloom. Now, if you'll excuse me, my ship's preparing a demonstration of its negotiation capabilities. The Vrel ships disengaged, but not out of diplomacy. It was the cold, creeping understanding that this wasn't a bluff. Human ships, even ancient ones, were infamous for one design philosophy. If threatened, remove the threat entirely. As the Vrel retreated to regroup, Cade stood alone on the command deck, looking at the dusty control panels with a smirk. Well, Sovereign, he said, looks like we're back in business. Awaiting strategic directives, Admiral. Cade cracked his knuckles. First order of business, find me a cold drink. Second, let's remind the galaxy why they buried us in the first place. The ship hummed, pleased. Elias Cade watched the Vrel Syndicate ships fade into the Martian horizon, their retreating engines sputtering like embarrassed fireworks. He stretched, joints cracking, and flashed a grin at Sovereign's primary holoscreen. Well, that was refreshing. It's been a while since anyone politely threatened me with a blockade. Blockade probability recalculated, Sovereign droned. Vrel Syndicate forces musters have increased by 43% in the last 7 minutes. They're sending friends. Cade clapped his hands. Excellent. Always good to have an audience. He strolled down the corridor, boots clanging against the reawakened ship's metallic spine. Sovereign had begun self-repair routines, and the vessel's bones seemed to hum with newfound purpose. Cade felt it too. The difference between a man scavenging for parts and an admiral reclaiming his throne was, apparently, a flip of a power relay. Status report. Sovereign. Anything besides the Vrel gathering for my impromptu welcoming party. Multiple factions have registered activation pings. Probes en route. Strategic advisement. Expect diplomatic overtures with embedded kill switches. Ah, diplomacy. My favorite blood sport. Cade smirked. Let's invite them in. Roll out the metaphorical red carpet, and keep a finger on the literal missile trigger. Understood, Admiral. Shall I prepare the diplomatic slaughterhouse protocols? That's what I like about you, Sovereign. Always so civilized. An hour later, the first envoy docked. Dr. Zethal of the Miriani Consortium floated gracefully into Sovereign's main hall, her shimmering carapace catching the newly restored lighting. Her species prized logic and caution, traits the galaxy often mistook for cowardice. But Cade knew better. The Miriani weren't afraid of violence, they were afraid of wasting it. Dr. Zethal, Cade greeted, bowing slightly. Welcome aboard. Ignore the dust. Sovereign's still waking up. She inclined her head, multifaceted eyes gleaming. Admiral Cade, you've caused considerable concern. That's what I do. A walking cause of concern. He gestured towards the observation deck. Shall we discuss the galaxy's collective panic attack over a cup of Terran coffee? As they settled into the viewing lounge, a term Cade generously applied to a once-blasted war table, Dr. Zethal wasted no time. The Vrel believe you intend to reclaim the old human territories. Cade sipped his coffee. And what do you believe? I believe, she said carefully, humans do not stumble upon Sovereign-class warships by accident. He chuckled. You'd be surprised how often my people accidentally trip over our own doomsday devices. Poor housekeeping, really. Sarcasm is a poor shield against orbital bombardment, Admiral. Then it's a good thing I'm sitting inside the bigger gun, isn't it? Zethal's mandibles twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. She knew the game. The Miriani didn't posture. They calculated. You seek leverage, she concluded. A return to relevance. I seek repairs, Dr. Zethal. Anything beyond that is optional, though I hear empires are making a comeback this season. She leaned forward. The galaxy will not allow humanity to rise again. That's the funny part, Cade said, eyes glinting. They've already allowed it. They just haven't realized yet. Outside, the Vrel Syndicate's patience thinned. A flotilla of sleek, needle-shaped warships formed a blockade perimeter. Their commander, Krelok, snarled at the holoscreen. Human, you are hereby ordered to vacate that vessel and submit to Vrel custody. Final warning. Cade leaned into the comms, cheerful as ever. Captain Krelok, this is starting to feel personal. I thought we were establishing a rapport. This is not a negotiation, human. Of course it is. You just don't like the terms. Krelok's eyes narrowed. You believe that relic makes you untouchable? Cade's grin sharpened. Not untouchable, Captain. Just expensive. Behind him, Sovereign systems pulsed. Targeting arrays lit up, silent and precise. Captain, Sovereign added, tone clipped, current weapon calibrations predict a 98.7% probability of total Vrel fleet neutralization within 47 seconds. Krelok sputtered. You wouldn't dare. Cade tapped his chin thoughtfully. I'm a human, Captain. We specialize in doing things we're not supposed to. Krelok severed the connection. That went well, Cade said, turning to Zethal. Think he'll reconsider my generous terms? The Vrel lack foresight. Zethal's voice was cool. Their greed outweighs their caution. Excellent. Cade rose. Let's give them a reason to reconsider their life choices. Minutes later, the Vrel flotilla's sensors went haywire. Sovereign's doing, Cade explained, watching as the Vrel ships scrambled in disarray. Old Earth tech was designed to be annoyingly adaptive. Jammed frequencies, ghost signatures, predictive targeting, she's just playing with them now. You're provoking a military incident, Zethal warned. I'm orchestrating a reminder, Cade corrected. The galaxy's forgotten humans because we let them. Now they remember, but only in bedtime horror stories. They don't believe we'd come back. And are you? She asked softly. Cade's smile was sharp. Depends on who asks politely. By the time the second envoy arrived, an arrogant diplomat from the coalition of enlightened systems, Cade was in full theatrical mode. The coalition envoy, a pallid being named Vorthan, oozed condescension. "Human," Vorthan began, "your species has no standing in current galactic governance. You will vacate this warship and—" Cade held up a hand. "Let me stop you there, Vorthan. You see, my ship's feeling a little sensitive today. Every time someone tells me to vacate, Sovereign recalculates firing solutions. It's very awkward." "Irrelevant," Vorthan sneered. "You are one vessel against the galaxy." Cade's grin never wavered. "But Vorthan, you assume I need a fleet." He gestured to the starship beneath his feet. "This vessel alone changed the fate of 3 galactic wars. You've read the reports, assuming your coalition still teaches history that isn't flattering." Vorthan's bravado cracked, just a hairline fracture, but enough. "You're bluffing," Vorthan accused. "You're projecting," Cade shot back. He stood, the casual slouch gone, replaced by a commanding presence that seemed to reshape the air around him. The smile remained, but the warmth drained from his voice. "Here's the thing about humans, Vorthan. We don't declare wars. We end them. Often before they officially start." He leaned in. "Now, would you like to test that theory, or would you prefer a civilized arrangement where no one's fleet gets turned into cosmic debris?" The silence that followed was punctuated only by Sovereign's quiet, predatory hum. As Vorthan withdrew, Cade turned back to Zethal, his easygoing demeanor sliding back into place. "Do you think I'm being too subtle?" Zethal's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "You're being efficient." Cade grinned. "Good. I hate wasting breath." Sovereign's voice cut in. "Admiral, multiple long-range vessels are converging." The galaxy had always imagined humans as extinct, or at best, irrelevant. But as Elias Cade stood on the command deck of the Sovereign, watching sensor displays light up with enemy fleets converging, he knew better. Humans didn't disappear. They simply knew when to stop playing the game and start rigging the board. "Sovereign," Cade said, arms crossed, "what's the current count?" "Vrel Syndicate. 14 warships in aggressive posture. Coalition of enlightened systems. 5 cruisers attempting diplomatic encirclement. Miriani observers holding neutral distance. Total combined fleet strength, tactically insufficient." "Good," Cade grinned. "They've brought just enough ships to make this educational." The star map shifted, lines and trajectories dancing like a spiderweb tightening. They thought they had him cornered. They hadn't yet realized they'd stepped into a bear trap set 5 centuries ago. Dr. Zethal hovered near the tactical display, her mandibles still and rigid. She wasn't here for diplomacy anymore. She was here to witness. "You planned this," she said. "It wasn't a question." "Not me. Humanity." Cade's tone was casual, but his eyes were cold. "This ship, this desert, even this conversation, all by design." Zethal's voice dropped. "Explain." Cade leaned on the console, tapping the display with a single finger. "After the fall, the galaxy thought we were done. Scattered, disarmed, compliant. That was the plan. Humanity didn't vanish. We seeded. Ships like Sovereign weren't destroyed, they were hidden. Locations encoded in bloodlines. Traps disguised as graveyards." He straightened, watching as another wave of enemy vessels entered the sector. "And now, here they are. Every major faction, in one place, looking at me like I'm holding the detonator. Problem is, I'm not holding it. Sovereign is the detonator." Sovereign's voice hummed through the bridge. "Awaiting trigger authorization, Admiral." Zethal's eyes narrowed. "A minefield." "Bigger," Cade smiled. "A resurrection field." On the far edges of the sector, long-dormant Terran stealth ships stirred. They had been invisible for centuries, buried beneath the Martian sands, cloaked in dead frequencies, powered by reactors designed to last millennia in silence. They were ghosts, until Sovereign's awakening pulse had called them home. The alien fleets didn't see them. Not yet. Status on the sleepers? Cade asked, pacing slowly. 74% operational, Sovereign replied. Weapon systems at optimal capacity. Communication silence maintained. They'll see them soon, Zethal murmured. They'll see nothing, Cade corrected. Not until it's too late. Vrel Captain Krelock's ship broadcast another demand. Human, this is your final opportunity to surrender. You are surrounded. Do not escalate hostilities. Cade chuckled, tapping the comms with mock formality. Captain, I fully intend to surrender. I'm just waiting for the proper audience. He gestured toward Sovereign. Let's patch them into a group call. The main display flickered, bringing together a mosaic of alien commanders, each face a perfect blend of arrogance and growing suspicion. Good afternoon, esteemed galactic dignitaries, Cade greeted, tone light and conversational. Before we continue this awkward standoff, I'd like to offer a formal apology. The alien murmurs stilled. You see, humanity's been terribly rude, Cade continued, smiling. We've let you believe we were beaten. That was inconsiderate. So, as an act of goodwill, I'd like to offer you all a demonstration of Terran restoration services. Complimentary. A ripple of unease spread across the comm feeds. Coalition envoy Vorthan leaned forward, his pallid face tense. What exactly are you threatening, human? I'm not threatening Vorthan, Cade said, feigning innocence. I'm inviting. Sovereign's display zoomed out, showing the orbital layers above Mars. The Vrel fleet, the Coalition cruisers, and the hidden outlines of Terran ships began to shimmer into visibility. Dozens of them, massive and fully armed, like phantoms materializing from thin air. The comm channels exploded into panicked chatter. What is this? Impossible, those signatures are centuries old. Deploy jamming arrays. They're faking. Cade silenced them with a clap. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Operation Sleeper's Gambit. You see, humanity didn't lose the war. We just left the pieces on the board and waited for everyone else to start playing badly. Sovereign's voice echoed. Admiral, external fleets have entered reactive defensive formations. Engagement projections remain favorable. Cade leaned in, his grin razor-sharp now. You came here to suppress a single human ship. What you've done is gather your best forces into a single firing solution. Zethal spoke softly. This is a message. Cade's gaze hardened. No. This is clarity. The Vrel fired first. It wasn't an order. It wasn't even intentional. It was panic manifesting as trigger-happy reflex. A single lance of plasma streaked towards Sovereign's bow. Sovereign didn't flinch. The beam dispersed harmlessly against adaptive shielding. Return fire? The AI asked, polite as a maitre d' offering dessert. Not yet, Cade said. Let's give them one last chance to remember their manners. He opened the comms again. Captain Krelock, that was rude. I can forgive a lot, but not bad diplomacy. So here's a friendly offer. You and your allies will disengage, deactivate weapons, and publicly acknowledge human sovereign rights over this sector. Or... He let the silence hang. Or what, human? Vorthan sneered. Cade's smile never reached his eyes. Or Sovereign stops holding back. The Coalition's fleet shifted formation. Defensive stances. They were rethinking their odds. But Krelock wasn't. Humans bluff. That's all they have left. Cade sighed. Sovereign, please show Captain Krelock what humans leave behind. The Martian desert cracked. Dozens of massive silos burst open, sending ancient Terran defense drones into the sky. Silent, efficient, unbothered by age or politics. They filled the air like a mechanical storm, forming precise kill webs around the Vrel flotilla. Krelock's ships locked shields. It didn't matter. Sovereign systems had mapped every weakness, every blind spot. The drones needed no orders. They had been programmed to finish what humans once paused. Captain Krelock, Cade said, his voice now cold steel, you don't understand humans. We don't make threats. We make contingencies. The first Vrel ship disintegrated in a surgical strike. The others followed, not in a fiery spectacle, but in surgical, efficient silence. Systems disabled, weapons melted, engines shredded. Not a single casualty. But the message was clear. The galaxy was no longer playing on neutral ground. As the dust settled, Cade addressed the remaining fleets. You came here to ensure humanity stayed buried. You've done the opposite. Sovereign is awake. The sleeper fleet is awake. And now, the galaxy has a choice. He paced the bridge, voice calm, almost bored. You can escalate. We'll end that escalation. You can negotiate. We'll do so with civility and overwhelming leverage. But you will not dictate terms. Not anymore. Zethal watched him, a flicker of something, admiration or fear, it was hard to tell. The alien commanders, now painfully aware of their fragile position, remained silent. Cade broke the tension with a smile. So, shall we start again? Proper introductions. The comm channels were silent now. Not the aggressive silence of impending war, but the heavy, uneasy quiet of factions realizing they'd walked into a conversation where humanity held every card. Elias Cade stood at the center of Sovereign's command deck, arms folded, eyes half-lidded with boredom. He'd given them the chance to shoot their shot. Now it was time for them to listen. Right, Cade said, breaking the tension. Shall we dispense with the theatrics? Everyone knows why we're here. You came to put a human in a cage. I came to remind you we built the locks you're still fumbling with. Dr. Zethal, ever the calm observer, floated to his side. They are not accustomed to humans leading conversations, Admiral. That's fine, Cade replied. I'm fluent in uncomfortable silences. On the main holoscreen, the Coalition's Vorthan was the first to unmute. His usual condescension was replaced by something less secure. Admiral Cade, Vorthan began carefully, the demonstration of force was noted. However, the Coalition requires assurances. Your current position disrupts galactic stability. Cade smiled. Vorthan, my position is galactic stability. You're mistaking discomfort for disorder. Krelock of the Vrel Syndicate snarled onto the feed. Human, you are a tactical anomaly, not a sovereign power. Says the pirate currently surrounded by century-old drones doing surgical disassemblies on your fleet. Cade's tone never shifted from conversational. You're not in a negotiating position, Krelock. You're in an educational seminar. Pay attention. Sovereign's voice, dry and efficient, added, Vrel Syndicate losses have exceeded acceptable humiliation thresholds. Cade chuckled. See, even Sovereign's feeling awkward about how badly you're losing. Zethal's mandibles twitched, Miriani body language for restrained amusement. Let's be clear, Cade continued. Humanity has no interest in galactic conquest. That's tedious. But we are reclaiming sovereignty over our ancestral sectors. Mars, Earth, and all Terran holdings. Non-negotiable. Vorthan's expression soured. And if the Coalition refuses? Cade's grin sharpened. Then the Coalition gets a crash course in why refusing humans has historically been a poor career move. The display flickered. Across the sector, stealth ships decloaked in perfect formation. Terran sleeper fleets, ghosts from a forgotten war, now gleaming with revitalized power. Their silent arrival wasn't a threat. It was a verdict. I admire your confidence, Vorthan said, voice thin. No, Vorthan, Cade replied softly. You admire the fact that I'm smiling while having all the reasons not to. Krelock sputtered. You think a few ships grant you dominion over galactic law? I think, Cade said, stepping forward, that the only law in this galaxy is dictated by those who have the capability to enforce it. And you, my dear Captain, are rapidly discovering you're not on that list anymore. Sovereign chimed in, deadpan. Admiral, preliminary surrenders have begun transmission from lesser Vrel vessels. Cade clapped his hands, mock surprised. Look at that. We're making progress. Zethal floated closer, voice neutral but precise. You're forcing a paradigm shift. I'm offering a reality check. Cade's smile faded, tone dipping into the steel beneath the charm. The galaxy forgot what humans are. We smiled, we bowed, we let them take pieces. But no more. He gestured to the display. We didn't build fleets to conquer. We built them so we'd never need to. Because the moment we wake them, the conversation becomes very simple. Vorthan sighed, political calculation flashing in his eyes. What are your demands? See, Cade said, turning to Zethal with a grin. Progress. Minutes later, a formal communication channel was established. The Terran Restoration Accords, Sovereign called it. Drafted in record time. Recognition of human sovereignty over former Terran sectors. Non-interference pacts with all galactic factions. A mandatory re-education clause for all coalition academies to accurately teach Terran history. And Cade's favorite, a clause granting him diplomatic oversight of Mars orbital traffic, which Sovereign translated as, I own your flight paths now. Vorthan grimaced as he reviewed the terms. These are unprecedented. History's being made, Vorthan. Try to keep up. Cade's smile was all teeth. Krelok's calm feed blinked in reluctantly. The Vrel Syndicate does not. Syndicate vessels are currently disarmed and in Sovereign's custody, the AI interrupted. Their compliance is statistically inevitable. Cade leaned back in his command chair. Krelok, I'm not here to humiliate you. But if you insist, I'll ensure your species is remembered for today's performance. Generations of mockery, preserved in Sovereign's historical archives. Your call. Krelok's silence was answer enough. Sovereign finalized the treaty drafts. In the space of an hour, the galaxy had shifted. Not with fleets of millions. Not with massive invasions. With one human, a forgotten starship, and the simple human talent of turning politeness into a strategic weapon. As the alien envoys began formalizing their withdrawal, Zethal approached Cade, her tone contemplative. You've reasserted humanity's place. But what happens when the galaxy regroups? Cade's grin was back. Then they'll remember today's lesson every time they look at a map. Sovereignty isn't about size, Zethal. It's about certainty. Sovereign's voice hummed, amused. Admiral, incoming transmission. Priority level, legacy. Cade arched a brow. Let's hear it. The voice that followed was human. Old, crackling through ancient relays, but unmistakably human. Command Directive Sigma 5. Reconquest Protocol initiated. Awaiting High Command Assembly. Cade's smirk turned into a predator's smile. Well, he said, glancing at Zethal, looks like we've just started.